Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey guys. So we're gonna be talking about cutoff game for a little bit, and we're gonna connect that to being in the flesh, and we're gonna have a quick little ask me anything. So everybody, hop on in here. Be sure to subscribe really quick. Hit the button to subscribe. Definitely hit the button to like, so that the stream goes out to more people and more people can get this word. So welcome, welcome everybody. Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hey everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're getting ready to talk a little bit about cutoff game. So some of y'all probably don't know what cutoff game is. Cutoff game essentially is when things aren't going the way you hope for them to go, and you decide that you want to move on, and you're cutting someone off, that you're like leaving someone behind and you're moving forward. That's what cutoff game basically is. And what I find interesting is it's not necessarily a bad thing to move on from someone, and it's also not necessarily a good thing to move on from them. I think it's one of those things where it's time to be prayerful before we like leave someone behind or move forward with someone. I think that's kind of the thing that's oftentimes missing in these really big decisions that we make. We're missing the sense that God should be part of our decisions, and if He is, He's going to be guiding us on whether it's time to move on from someone or move forward. Either way, um, and so I find it interesting because I was watching some social media content about a married woman who was, a caller calling in, and she was seeking advice on her divorce. And she's a Christian woman, and she did not have a biblical reason for divorce. She simply felt like the marriage wasn't going the way she hoped. Um, she did feel deceived. She felt deceived by her partner and felt like, he wasn't in the faith the way she wanted him to be. But again, the Bible doesn't give a way out for that. The Bible says we should continue to be with our marital partner, and be an example for them, and hopefully they'll come to Christ one day. Welcome, welcome everybody. Go ahead and like the stream really quick, and go ahead, share it, subscribe. We're talking really quickly about, hi Sid, welcome, welcome. We're talking about cutoff game. Okay, we're talking about cutoff game. We're gonna talk about being in the flesh. Everybody, really quick, go ahead, like the stream, go ahead and subscribe really, really fast. We're talking about cutoff game, and if you guys don't know what cutoff game means, cutoff game is when something is not going the way you expected, and you decide to move on and leave someone behind. So basically, it's aborting the mission. It's cutting someone off, aborting the mission, moving on without someone, cutoff game, right? So what I'm finding nowadays, and I, by the way, I admit I had a real strong cutoff game at one point, y'all. I've had to work on that, and the Lord had to work on me. But I think it's common that we have cutoff game, like really strong cutoff game, and we're forgetting that in the midst of us not getting our way, sometimes sometimes God's working on us. Sometimes He's working on our flesh. Sometimes He's working on our pride, our ego. Sometimes He's working on something in us that needs to be worked out. But rather than allowing that tough season of like God adjusting us and changing our heart, sometimes we like head for the hills, and we're like quick to cut someone off. And that's what I'm calling cutoff game. Okay. So a lot of us, like, as soon as someone messes up, we head straight for the hills. We head straight for cutoff game. And I want us to be prayerful about that, because in some cases it's absolutely the right thing to do. But in some cases, God also wants to show us a bit about ourselves. I want to say, for people who are married, we need to be super, super, super cautious, because there are very few reasons biblically for us to cut off our marital partner and move on. Like, there's very few reasons, not a whole lot. So cutoff game really applies to the single people. It really does, but it has bled over into everything that we see. So guys, pop it in the chat if you want to hear more about cutoff game. Go ahead, really quick, like the stream, really quick subscribe, share the stream. We're talking about cutoff game really quick, and we're talking about basically heading for the hills when something is not going your way and you're like, I'm out of here. So cut off game can apply to like leaving a job, leaving a church, leaving a marital partner, leaving your boyfriend, girlfriend. It can apply to moving on from friends, guys. And when you do it and you do the wrong way, sometimes you have like a little bit of a remorse feeling. Like you might feel like a couple days later, oop, I cut this person off. Oops, that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that, right? So let's talk about cutoff game really quick. Again, for those of you guys just hopped in, be sure to like, be sure to share, be sure to subscribe. We're talking about cutoff game, which is basically when things are not going our way and we decide we need to move on. That's not always a bad thing, and that's not always a good thing, and that's how we're going to talk about it today. Let me look in the chat. If you guys have questions, pop them in the chat. But yes, hi Sid, hi Helen, hi Diego, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about cutoff game, and the beauty of cutoff game is when we have talked with God about something, and someone is leading us away from God, someone is making us fall into sin, and we're like getting in these sinful cycles that really don't honor God, then we might be having it put on our spirit to move on from someone because God, the Spirit of God that lives inside of us, is not at peace with ungodliness that the relationship is bringing us into. So those are situations where cutoff game might be appropriate, right? But I think there is a segment, a subset of people who are cutting folks off in the middle of a marriage, which is a whole nother situation. That's not the same as like you're single, you're dating, and you realize something's not working out. So let's talk about that really quick. When we compare cutoff game in our singleness to cutoff game when we're married, what are the differences? When we're single, we're not in covenant. When we're married, we are in covenant. That's the difference right there. So God has really been really clear about when it's okay for us to move on when we're married. And moving on when we're married basically means there's fornication, like there's marital infidelity that's occurred. That's a good reason. Another reason where the Bible talks about us moving on. Another reason why God tells us to move on is it says it's okay to move on is when we're married to an unbeliever and the unbelieving spouse has abandoned the home, has already left the home. So we're not talking about being unequally yoked and then we are feeling some kind of way. We're talking about, sorry about that. We're talking about when we're unequally yoked and the other partner has literally abandoned the marriage and has left us, left the house, left the marital home, left the marriage. In the Bible, it talks about that being a reasonable reason to be divorced, to move on and have a divorce. But there's a reason why God says that, y'all. And that's what I want to talk about too. So we're talking about cutoff game. The devil likes to confuse people who are married and tell them it's a good idea to cut off your marriage and move on. And the devil likes to put ideas in our head that when we cut off our marriage, that it's going to be suddenly a better deal. We'll have access to a brand new, better partner. The grass is greener on the other side. The devil will begin to speak these lies into our mind. This is where we have to be really, really careful. Hold on one second. Can you hear me? No, I think you can hear me. I think all that time I didn't have my thing on. Actually, I may just have to restart the stream because I didn't have my mic on. I'll restart it and do it one more time.